Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes. Back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway, where you can go into like a store and start making payments on something, some high dollar ticket item, and once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. And it was the first, weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money. And so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it. And the cheaper scopes were all sold out. And so I bumped up to like this entry-level Leupold scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a Leupold scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the Leupold Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And Leupold, guys, you know them. Everybody knows Leupold. They've been around since like 1907. They started as like a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff, you can find it all at Leupold.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company, and I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive, and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine studio right here in Northwest Montana, and brought to you by Eastman's Hunting, the premier hunting brand of the West, or something. I'm sure there's a tagline I'm supposed to use or whatever. Guys, thanks for tuning in this week. I think we're going to have a good one for you. I've got my friend Dakota Johnson on, and I'd like to tell you kind of how this episode came about. He'd made a post. In fact, he'd made a different post, and I remember reading that initial post. Dakota, I don't remember what that first one was. I remember thinking, he's pretty articulate, making a good point about something. And then he made another post, and I commented on it, and it's kind of went. I can't remember what the conversation was, but it was like we kind of had almost like a little debate going, and it was like, why don't we just do a podcast about it and talk about it on the show? Because I think things get really hostile really fast on Facebook where they don't need to. And, the hostility doesn't really exist. And this is going to be a conversation centered around like hunting promotion, hunting media, the future of hunting from that aspect, maybe get into some of the technology, that kind of stuff that is, I think kind of a hot topic right now. There's a couple of folks out there talking about maybe some of the damages that hunting promotion and media can create. And then there's other folks out there saying that it doesn't. I think that it's good to have this kind of conversation. And Dakota, I appreciate you having the balls to come on the show and do it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me because, like you said, I've tend to wrote some posts on Facebook that are that catch some attention, but I mean well, and I'm just pointing out some things that I see. It's just opinions. It's definitely not fact. And yeah, so I appreciate you having me on. What did you say before? Yeah, it's definitely not going to be like a hostile conversation between you and me, or like you said on Facebook, it tends to be like hot on Facebook, but when we meet in person or whatever, we tend to be pretty friendly. So
yeah,
I appreciate.
I just talked about it in like one of the quick shot episodes that I do too. Like I don't get on Facebook very often anymore because everything is just so freaking nasty, man. It's like, oh, I hate Trump, or oh, I hate hunters, or oh, I hate rifle hunters, or oh, I hate people that are non-residents. And it just burns me out, man. I don't like, I have never been afraid of confrontation and conflict from a standpoint of, I think that sometimes it's necessary to achieve greater things. But I hate contentious, nasty hostility. And that's what happens on Facebook. And so I've just kind of burned myself out with it. And in all fairness, I've been guilty of creating some of it too, because I'm like you, man. I get emotional and I get worked up about my own opinions, and I want my voice to be heard. Everybody, I think that's part of it, is everybody wants their voice to be heard. And I grew up in a time where pre-social media, hunters didn't have a forum or a place to gather where we could exchange ideas and opinions and whatnot. It was just all, let's meet down at the gas station and show off a buck in the back of the truck kind of thing, and when you're face to face, it's a lot friendlier. And so I think that, that's a lot of where that comes from people that always wanted to have a voice and be able to share their opinions. And it never was available. There was no outlet unless you were like a radio DJ or something, and now that social media exists, it's like all coming out at once. It's like everybody's like just attacking each other. So it's an interesting thing. We'll get into it, man. Why don't we kick it off? I know we've got a mutual friend, Steve Johnson. He's come up on the podcast a couple of times lately. But give us a little bit of a snapshot of your background, who you are. Tell us about yourself, and we'll take it from there, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm nothing too special. Just Dakota. Grew up here in North Idaho. Grew up in Sandpoint. Did a lot of hunting and fishing around up there. Moved down to Post Falls area and just kind of grew up here. We built a house in Spirit Lake. I want to say that was 20. Oh gosh, I'm gonna blow this. Anyways, 2018, something like that. And we just recently moved back down to Post Falls, just to be kind of closer to town with the kids and stuff. So
yeah.
I know this doesn't fit like a Post Falls vibe. I'm directly in town here, but
I think it's Post Falls-esque, man. I used to live in Post Falls many years ago. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. My wife and I's first house was in Post Falls.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, Post Falls is good. I know it's not everybody's vibe, like North Idaho vibe, because it's town, but it works for me. I own a construction company, so we're in town a lot, so
yeah,
we're doing that. And that's pretty much my whole life, is just hunting in my business. So I've got a little 3-year-old daughter and a beautiful wife, both really supportive of both hunting and fishing and work. And I mean, just that's all you could ask for.
Are you mostly most of the hunting you're doing, is it there in North Idaho, or do you venture out at all? Ever go to like Wyoming or something?
No, it's funny that you say that, because I was going to bring that up here. It's part of my spiel, is that I'm strictly a panhandle hunter. A lot of my views kind of around hunting stem from it being like traditional. And I know a lot of people they'll venture out to do hunts like family hunts or whatever. But I grew up hunting from the house. I didn't really do, what would you call it, travel hunting, is what I call it. I don't, other people can call it whatever, but I call it travel hunting. I'm not really into the controlled hunts. I'm not, the draw tags or whatever. I just kind of, hunting is mainly for, it's for the meat for me. It's for, obviously it's for the sport. It's for the enjoyment of it. But when we start to, and not to say that you can't do it, because I'm all for it. And I don't want people to think I think it's like wrong or something, but I think it starts to just a hair take away from what we do as hunters, as far as making it look like it's for the meat. If we're going like somebody does, some of these YouTube channels where they go from like Wyoming to Montana to Idaho to wherever in a year, spending $5,000 on equipment and stuff just to get it done, and then to publicize it. So I think that takes away from what my like internal view of what hunting means to me. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, no, I don't leave the Panhandle.
Well, the nice thing about the Panhandle of Idaho is it bodes well for somebody that does want to just hunt from the house. I mean, you're not far from some great hunting units. We probably hunted some of the same ridges and whatnot, because I spent a lot of my adult life in North Idaho, and that's really where I learned to elk hunt. And obviously I'm in Northwest Montana now, even though I just realized my little thumbnail on my podcast still says Clark Fork, Idaho. I literally just noticed that today. Yeah, I need to change that, because I lived in Clark Fork.
Side, right?
Yeah, I'm in Montana now, so
I'll tell you what, I've listened to you for years. I'm sure time flies. So I want to say like 5 years, maybe. Have you done it for 5 years?
Yeah, we're actually on year 6 now.
I think I've listened to you for 5 years because for some reason that's just like the number I have in my head. But so I remember you from like going to your house in Hayden and then to your Clark Fork, right?
Yeah. Then we went. Yep. I started the show when we lived in Hayden, and my kind of a guy. We sold that. Actually, we sold it to a cool dude. He does precision rifle works or something. I can't remember the name of his company, but he actually makes custom rifles there.
Well, that's fit.
Yeah, it's cool. So basically he's making those rifles in the same spot I used to record the podcast.
That is so cool.
And so I felt like one American passing that on to another American, and he kept it America. So yeah, we went from there, and then we bought some bear land up in Clark Fork, Idaho, and we're going to build on it. And then this opportunity to buy this spot over here on the Montana side came up, and it just made sense. And so we did it. And I've always wanted to live in Montana, and man, I love it. It's North Idaho's great. Montana's great. As long as we're in the American West, I'm pretty happy, man.
North Idaho's getting busy, isn't it?
It is getting busy. That was kind of the motivation to leave Hayden in Kootenai County down there. There was during the whole COVID thing, we just had this huge influx of out-of-staters moving in. And I think that is going to be relevant to this discussion too, because the North Idaho that we knew, 20 years ago, it's not that anymore. And so, I'll give you an example. That particular house, I mean, we sold it. We lived there for roughly I think it was just over 5 years. We sold that house for over double what we paid for it, which is insanity when you consider the fact that kind of equity build usually takes a few decades. And that tells you that is a major influx of out-of-state population coming into an area when those home prices go to that level. And I'm kind of worried about like some friends and family over there still. The cost of living just due to the influx of people. I mean, it's just out of control. And then to magnify it, Dakota, they're building multifamily housing all over Kootenai County. Like every time I go down there, which I come down quite a bit, for my company, I do most of my work in Kootenai County. it is like every time I come down there, there's a new apartment building going up somewhere, and that's where traffic comes from, and that's what clogs those roads up. Anyway, total soapbox, man.
Yep.
but
Oh,
but
you're
that's why
good.
we
Like
left.
you said, it pairs well with what we're talking about. I guess what I was
Yeah.
going to say, and if I may, I was just watching I forget what it was, something that it was Justin Webb. I feel like it was either a podcast or something. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
saying that their stats that said we're growing as Idaho residents, growing at 300 residents per day at some points.
Yeah.
And obviously that's throughout the state. But if you know Idaho well enough, we're centered in kind of two locations, north and south, Boise and Coeur d'Alene. That's kind of where our
Yeah.
hotspots are. And just so I guess we can kind of direct this into the hunting portion of this. I'll start it off by saying I've been stewing hard lately because this year, are you familiar with what happened kind of like around Coeur d'Alene Lake and like on units kind of south of Coeur d'Alene to the deer population this year?
With the that disease?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the what is that disease? The blue tongue or something?
Well, I don't want to speak too educatedly about it because I'm definitely not. But from what I understand, it was EHD, and it's like
that's
a
right. Yeah.
that
Yep.
happens on drought years. And not to, like I said, talk too much about it, but I went in and just because we see 300 residents a day, like we were talking about, and if a tenth of those people want to get a general deer tag, which a lot of them do. Like if you told them, hey, you can just go buy a deer tag here at Walmart and you can go and shoot a deer. The way that media is going these days, like everybody wants their own food and stuff to harvest their own meat, they would totally go that route. And when you look at available hunting space, which is one thing which we're losing drastically in Kootenai County, not just Kootenai County, but Bonner County as well, and others. A lot of the lowland and even some of the interface working up the mountain, it's really starting to get developed.
Yeah.
It's changing a lot of the areas that we hunt, and not only the areas that we hunt, but the areas that the animals rely on. So I walked into Fish and Game, and I just politely asked to speak to somebody about some like seasons and rules and how they allocate tags, and they politely got me a biologist. I forget their name. Two gentlemen, actually, rather.
Mm-hmm.
But they both walked out, and my question was short. At what point do we lose our right as residents to hunt every year? Do they have like a number in mind with deer and elk or bear even? How many resident tags that we allow? Because we all know, we all like to hate on the non-residents, but I know
Mm-hmm.
enough to know that that's a fixed number and that doesn't change. I'm sure you know that, right?
Yep.
Yep. So
it hasn't changed. It fluxes in terms of the years where the tags sell out to non-residents. Like during the 90s, they would sell out, and then there was this time that went by, like a 10-year period where those tags were not selling. And we're talking Idaho specific. A lot of the things that you're talking about, Dakota, is not just like North Idaho specific, right? If you look at home prices in Bozeman, Montana, and contrast that to 20 years ago, or even Sheridan, Wyoming, or like Cedar City, Utah, you're going to see very similar trends as to this influx of non-residents. And and it's so we could say it. Well, I have a huge portion of the audience that listens to this show. They're in California, and they know that I will say these dang Californians moving in, that's what's going on. And I have this weird thing where it's like, man, if I lived in California and I could escape to a better place like Idaho or Montana or somewhere where like my lifestyle and my value sets are more aligned with the people that live there, I would do that too. So I don't blame them, but it's still irritating for us, right, that have been here our whole lives.
I definitely don't blame those people, because I know you're a Christian and you got a family, and there's certain ways that we believe that we should be allowed to live without being told what we should be able to do. And I totally agree. Those people they keep me busy. I'm sure they keep you busy in our industry, where we rely on those kind of people to be moving here. which is kind of what's opened my eyes to all this, these issues that float. But like you said, it's definitely not North Idaho alone. So while
Yeah.
I continue this here, as I walked in there and was mentioning that, I'm just concerned about at what point, number wise, do I lose my right to hunt every year as a resident? And they assured me that there was no number that we would ever encroach on that would allow me to lose my right to hunt every year as a resident. And they proceeded to tell me that they look at, population, the herd health is what they described it as a blanket statement, a herd health.
Yeah.
And then they make their season adjustments accordingly. But then I brought up the fact that we obviously know that, and they acknowledged that this year we had a terrible drought year, and EHD came up and killed a lot of our deer, lots and lots of deer. Not necessarily mountain deer because they have a fresh water source in the mountains, but lowland deer, it did kill a lot of those deer. But then they said that next year they didn't plan on making any like adjustments to the tags or to the seasons or to whatever. So I just felt like it contradicted that statement of going off of herd health when the following year they weren't ready to maybe make any adjustments. But I'm not a biologist. I just know that shooting the deer that maybe got immunity from EHD, because they can get immunity, that probably doesn't help the following year. I'm a conservationist. I would rather just let certain areas try to rebound instead of being like, hey, I just want to hunt again,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess that's kind of that went off kind of course there, but that leads to the overall like animal population in our areas. This year, I know just around Coeur d'Alene Lake and just around there, we lost a lot of deer. So the following year, we're going to have more residents, more people that want to hunt, and less deer for sure around that area in particular. So I'm not really sure. I guess that's just another point where I think that Fish and Game's really just looking at it more of a money standpoint than how we ensure that me and you and our kids, get to hunt the same way that we used to.
I think that it's a valid concern. I think, at some point, I feel like the states that still offer the residents over-the-counter tags, if the influx continues at a rate that it has been, at some point that over-the-counter thing is going to go away. And I don't want it to. I know there's a lot of people that are for that. They want to see, draw only tags and whatever, and willing to forfeit, hunting for a year or whatnot. I don't. I
really
live here
people
because, oh yeah, they like the, I see it a lot. We're talking about Facebook. People talk about that all the time. Oh, we need to make it a draw and
I guess
blah, blah, blah.
I could see it, but not me.
I think I'm not like that. I like you mentioned. What's that?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you'd mentioned, you're a meat hunter. I'm a meat hunter as well. I have a little different philosophy from a standpoint of, like, I love traveling to other states and hunting. I love having different experience. Like, I live for hunting, right? Outside of God and my family and my country, I live for hunting. And right. that's a big part of my life. And so I am willing to spend money to go out of state and visit some of these other areas, because those experiences, man, you hunt somebody. North Idaho, because you're in North Idaho. North Idaho is a very specific habitat. The landscape is very different. It's very unique. I have said many times that if you can consistently kill elk in North Idaho, that's a varsity elk hunt. That's a varsity level elk hunt. It's very thick. It's very steep. It's very brushy. And if you can make it happen there, man, going to these other states, you'll be a much better hunter in some of these other landscapes. And then vice versa, hunting those other landscapes, when you come home, it'll make you a better hunter here, so I guess, yeah, we did kind of go down some rabbit holes there.
That was my fault.
I want to talk about this hunting media. Was kind of what that post was, that where we met, and we were, you were talking about hunting, people that are making YouTube channels and promoting hunting and stuff like that. Give me kind of your philosophy on that. What's your, I think, what did I emailed you come up with like a monologue or
Right.
something about that. What give
Right.
us a rundown of what you feel.
Short of reading what I wrote here, I guess I'll just kind of, like you said, you got a screen over here. I'll glance at what I wrote and just take parts of it out for you.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not anti new hunters. You know, I love actually taking new hunters into the field. I love seeing them get that excitement. You know, like you said, it brings out new life in yourself. It's the YouTube media thing, like Hunt Quietly, kind of goes on a lot. That I've kind of narrowed in on, and it's not for any other reason that I just think that we have a finite resource, and it's not something that just should be, you know, really spread out there. Because I know, if remember when we grew up, I would go with my dad or my brother's friend, or whoever it may have been, but there was definitely no Onyx. So this
Yep.
is and it would be like, don't ever come up here, you know, don't show anybody about this, you know, just, you know, we can hunt it and then we leave. And that, so somewhere between that stage in hunting where it was like, hey, respect what I found and respect what I know. Respect what I know is huge too, like tactics and stuff to me. But on the spot burning side, I feel like YouTube has done nothing but, you know, show people where other people hunt and market hunting products, which I think there's a spot for it, because this is America. You know, we need to be able to market hunting products and stuff. I just don't know that it needs to be at an animal's expense. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah, and I think
minute clip, I guess, if you would.
yeah. And as I told you in the emails, because we were talking about setting this up several weeks ago, and then I kind of got on the fence because honestly, man, I don't love this topic, and the reason why I don't love this topic is because there's really no solution to it. The problem, you know, I don't disagree that sometimes some of these YouTube channels are negatively impacting hunting, and I don't disagree. There is no disagreeing, because I know I've watched some of those videos and I'm like, man, I know exactly where he's at. I know exactly where they're hunting. And there's other ones that they do really, you know, they're pretty mindful about that, and others just aren't. But the problem is, you know, whether we agree with that or not, you said it, we are a capitalistic society and a free society.
Free America.
We are a free America. We can't tell people not to do that. We can have conversations like this to see if we can't go about it better. And you know, like you'd mentioned the Hunt Quietly movement with Matt, and I had Matt on a show, and I talked to him, and you know, the more I thought about it, to me, you have to consider the bigger picture outside of, oh, well, I feel like hunting is a lot more crowded than it used to be. It is in a lot of cases. You know, the numbers are all over the place with that, but the very nature of the fact that you know, the hunting industry is roughly a $40 billion industry, and it generates on top of that about $150 billion, that's billion with a B, of dollars to the national economy every year. And so if you
how
were
much
to compare that
to the animals, though?
What was that?
How much of that, you know, because that's our market cap for our industry, let's call it. What did you say? It was 40 or 50 billion?
$40 billion annually as an industry. And so, yes, $40 billion annually. So that's money generated from, whether it's tag sales to gear buying to rifles to, you know, name your whatever. This hat I'm wearing, this vest I'm wearing. And you compare that to something like surfing. Surfing is only $4.4 billion annually. You know, I put some other ones in there. Soccer is $34 billion. That was a big one. I tried to find some soccer, $34 billion.
So hunting is bigger than soccer?
Soccer and surfing, off-roading is $24 billion. I picked a couple of dumb ones.
Hunting is bigger than soccer.
Pickleball is $1.6 billion. But I hear about pickleball. Yeah. So the reading industry is $30 billion. So hunting is a big industry. And so the reason why I'm sharing those numbers is
that blew my mind.
Yeah, it blew my mind too, Dakota. Like, because when you think about that, regardless of how we feel about that, something that generates $40 billion a year annually, it is just flat unrealistic to think that we are not going to have promotional value in media out there that's going to exist, right? Can we agree on that?
100%, because I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
But
it's just crazy.
My big would be how much of that money lands. I'm running a business that costs a lot of money. I get that, but how much of that like returns to the animal? And then a better question is do they even need that money, or do we just need to not market them so heavily, so that they're not just pressured constantly? I mean,
so there's
way,
that's two different.
Like,
that's two different. You're kind of talking about two different metrics. When I say it generates $40 billion annually, that is the money exchanged for the sake of hunting, right? So it's not necessarily like a conservation amount raised by tag sales. It's everything. When you go buy a hunting rifle, when you put gas in your truck to go hunting, when you buy an RMEF membership, when you go to the Hunt Expo, anything like that, that's generated. So that's a different metric versus like tag sales allocated towards conservational efforts. But I will tell you this, because of that industry, you know, I'm heavily involved in it because I'm with Eastman's and they're a big media company, and yet, you know, all this stuff that goes into it. Eastman's helped facilitate down at the Hunt Expo a couple of years ago, where I got to go to this banquet where they were auctioning off a mule deer tag that went right to the Mule Deer Foundation, which is an excellent organization in terms of the dollars they actually put into conservational efforts and habitat improvements and stuff. And I'm not saying they're flawless. No, I'm not affiliated with them, so nobody, you know, get me on that. But
I think those are great foundations too. Like RMEF, I'm not saying those aren't great. Those are great foundations. You know, they do their part. I'm just, sometimes I wonder if, like you said, that $750,000 mule deer tag for, you know, that for the harvest of that one deer, you know, if you were to break it down budgetary wise, you know, where did that money go directly to help, you know, population of mule deer? Like, is it, you could go on and see, there's some cases online.
Yeah.
Is that what you have right here? Were you going to pull up?
Well, I was going to say, I had the data. It was a couple of years ago. I don't know, but the point with what I was saying with that, the $750,000, that was one hunter that just had like stupid money and was able to spend that kind of money. The industry behind media promotion, hunting, tags, allocation of all these monies and all these different markets that create this as the hunting industry. I don't know if that even made sense. It did. Sometimes I get a hold of myself, get ahead of my skis.
Oh. That was good.
The point is that wouldn't have been generated, and a big that was like a lot. 100% of those dollars go towards conservation efforts, whether that's habitat improvement or studying, you know, some of these diseases that we talk about, you know, that are affecting mule deer. Like mule deer really need our help. That money does not come from the anti-hunting movement, right? Like you don't see PETA out there raising $750,000. You know, that's what they're paying their CEO every year. You know, you don't see.
That's what I wonder, because like you said, they kind of funnel that money through organizations, and then who knows where it goes from there. I often wonder, I'm not criticizing RMEF by any means or any other organization, but I just wish that they had more of like something to say, hey, you know, this money's, you know, using a vague term, went to this, in that, in this, and from that it resulted in this mule deer population, you know, doing better. But I think that's a pretty hard metric to track, you know, as far as like how many animals are receiving improvement from the money spent. Obviously that's probably really hard to track.
It's actually pretty easy to find that information. Like you can go on the second screen here, you've got like the 2024 annual report. And I don't know, I should know more about Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. What I know is I spend a lot of money with them. I always buy a membership, and I'm a sucker for their banquets, man. I love the RMEF banquets, and I love the F4WM banquets. And See, like
That's a
I just
great thing.
pulled up, you can
See,
actually, what's
go
that?
ahead. Sorry. Nope, you're good. I always talk over.
No, when we're recording on Zoom like this, dude, we're just always going to kind of talk over each other. Just so the audience knows, Dakota and I are not trying to step on each other's toes. It's just we have a little bit of a delay. Anyway, they've got like a big breakdown of where all that money that because they're a nonprofit, right? That has to be public information. So it's all right there on their website. And
Right.
I just can't really it's.
No, it's super hard to
What is
navigate, which is one of my kind of things about it. But I guess, like I said, you can see what they've done with the money there, but it's, I guess, how much is it helping the wildlife? And like I said, that's hard to really
That's a
gauge.
tough metric. Yeah, that's a tough metric. And it depends. The answer to that is going to be that depends. Sometimes that money goes directly to making in the case of the mule deer, for example, an animal overpass over a highway so that they're filtered over the top of the highway instead of getting hit. Like yesterday,
100%.
I come around a corner on 56 here in Montana, and there's these two bighorn sheep standing right in the middle of the road. And they, that all the salt de-icing stuff that they do during the winter builds up on the asphalt. So it's like a giant salt lick, And
You're just hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging out on the road. I could have almost reached out and smacked the ass of the one bighorn. It was just a youngster, probably a year and a half old, and it just would not move from that center line. And finally, I had to start yelling at it, and it ran up off the hill, but I'm sure it came right back. And so that's just a side note. That has nothing to do with what RMAF spends. I'm just saying. Anyway, there's actual ways to determine what percentage of those dollars that an organization like RMEF is bringing in, and how that's what they're spending that money on, essentially. We now have elk in Kentucky and Tennessee because of organizations like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
That's a great example right there. Thank you for pointing that out, because that pretty much puts a foot in the mouth of what I would ever, even say about that, because that's a clear, what would you say? You can gauge that because there was an elk.
Tangible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very, very good point. I think you've made your point on that one.
Well, one of the guys I was guiding this year, man, he was from Wisconsin. I want to say, was it Wisconsin or was it? No, it wasn't Michigan. It had to be Wisconsin. Anyway, super cool dude. He's got in Wisconsin. They call them their 40s. Is that what? Yeah. Anyway, they've all got these 40-acre deer hunting spots, and he was showing me these pictures of this bull elk that scored. I got in the Hunt Score app, and I gauged him at like 360. Wow. Just giant bull. They can't hunt them. They can't hunt them yet. I think they give like one tag out a year or something like that. Anyway, that elk exists because of organizations like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, which 100. That organization wouldn't exist without the industry that is behind the hunting space. And so I guess that's why it's like sometimes I even told Matt Ranella this when he was on the show. It's like, man, it's not that I totally disagree. There were some things I totally disagree with him on. I think he's super unfair to like Cam Haines and some of the other like big names out there. Like, I'm sorry, Matt, but Cam Haines has done more in one day for the positive benefit of the hunting community and this thing we do than he's done his whole life. And so it's just that's a rough one for me when he attacks Cam. But I
don't mind those guys. I really don't, because they're not affecting me whatsoever. But they're paying to go hunt somewhere. You know what I mean? Which is fine. Cam I don't think he does any public land hunting, which is fine with me. Do your thing. I'm not going to hate on you. Just like a totally different than what I would describe me and you as doing as we're home hunters.
But Cam, to that point, Cam did cut his teeth public land hunting, and I mean he wrote a book on backcountry elk hunting. 100%. So like if I this is always a fun.
Not to do it anymore.
What's that?
He's just rich enough to not have to do it anymore. And if I would do the same.
I would totally do the same. When your business brings in enough revenue, and mine does too, you and I should go to like that desert ranch they're hunting on, and
we'll go somewhere.
I'd love to.
Get that fat of a check, but we'll go somewhere.
It's totally
Hey,
one
and if
of
that
those.
never happens, we'll join the public land army out there, huh?
Well, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, man.
Yeah,
From your standpoint, you grew up in North Idaho,
right.
hunting probably units 1 through 6 or whatever.
Bingo.
And you know, I've noticed. Well, I want to get your take. Let me
Yeah,
say this, and this is going to piss some people off,
let's
and
do it.
I want to get your response to this.
Okay.
I am in no way denying that those particular, the Panhandle of Idaho has become a much more popular place for people to go. Which, by the way, for any of you that are like in the Midwest or on the East Coast, and you're looking to hunt Idaho and you're drawing a tag and whatever, there is no reason. Like, and I am not saying this because it's my old stomping grounds, and I'm not saying this because it's where Dakota is. Like, of all the places to come out west and hunt, the Panhandle is a terrible idea. The
It is.
Panhandle is a very unique area. It's a terrible idea. Like, the rest of Idaho is great, the rest of Montana is great. Like, there's way better options. And so, and I'm again, I don't hunt there anymore, so I don't. It doesn't matter to me. So I'm not saying it for that reason, but it really is a terrible place. But when I first started hunting the Panhandle, dude, like, it was crickets out there during archery season. That was not
Hmm.
the case during rifle. Rifle's always been a busy
Hmm.
time of year, but during archery season, I would go and we would camp up on this river. I don't want to say the river. We would camp, and I would be surprised if I saw another hunter up there
Hmm.
in 7-8 days. Seriously. Now there are trucks on every Forest Service road.
Hmm.
There's every trailhead. They're parked on up every ridge, and there's people on four-wheelers and side by sides. It sounds like downtown LA in the morning. There's trucks constantly going up and down, and everybody's bugling here and bugling there, and sitting in tree stands on the wallow, and all these areas. Definitely a lot more crowded. What I'm
Well,
going
I'll
to
tell you
say
my
that
opinion.
pisses people off. What was that?
Right. I thought you were done there. There was a lag, so I was going to say
Oh
something, but
yeah, no problem. And
uh,
the what I was gonna say that pisses people off, that will piss people off, is despite that, because it's been like that for a while since before I moved to Montana.
mhm.
Despite that, I still was able to get away from people and find elk. And I
Oh,
think that sometimes this whole YouTube hunting media controversy thing develops out of people that are frustrated that times have changed and they haven't adapted to them, and they're no longer successful because of it, right? And they're not
there
willing to put in the extra work. What say
you said
you?
it great. Yeah, no, that was great. You
You
explained
you
that really
you kind of
well.
cut out. You kind of cut out there. Say that again.
Oh, sorry. I said no, you explained that really well there. Like you said, I hunted the first, one through 6 units, 1 through 9, and essentially being the whole Panhandle. But um, it was like it started out when I was growing up. It was actually rather busy in the woods, but there really wasn't like hunting media. So people naturally spread out, like they weren't like hugging units because what they seen online or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
if we can be honest, we all know certain influencers and we all know where they live. And when they post stuff, it's easy to just direct, what would you say, just traffic to those areas just based on posts, which happens. There was even an influencer out there, I won't say his name, one that you've had on your podcast, I believe, a while back, um, who was breaking down regions in Idaho.
Oh,
And
really?
I just don't think that's something that we need to be doing for content. Like let people
That's
let
right.
people,
That's right, man. That triggered a memory. One of your posts was about there was some company advertising selling locations from these cell cams that they
oh
had.
yeah,
And I agreed with what you said. That is total BS. Like, I
it's
don't
weird.
think like that's going way too far.
Yeah, that's going way too far. And I think that eventually legislation will get a hold of that and that won't even
Yeah,
be a thing. You know what I mean?
I
So I'm
agree.
worried about that. That'll catch up. But just like you said, we'll stay on the whole North Idaho getting busy part. Eventually it's going to come to a head because it seems like Fish and Game would rather just let it be, because we're an opportunity state, which I respect and I love that we all get the opportunity to go. But like you said, I hope it's an opportunity just to go and not have a quality experience while we're hunting, like not seeing a whole bunch of people or God forbid, not even seeing any wildlife. But if you look behind me, I'm sure not everybody's on YouTube. I'm just going to do this one time just for everybody here.
Yeah, heck yeah. Look at that big old bull.
Yeah, that's
nice.
I'm in my office here today. But as you can see, there's not like a lack of wildlife, but I'm saying the experience has gotten different.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. The experience is
Which
definitely
I don't want to be
different.
the guy being like, oh, there's no elk, because there's elk. We all know there's elk.
Yeah.
But it's changing hunting, and I'm just worried that at what point are we gonna like put the brakes on it because the quality's changing. And I know I mentioned to you when we were starting that I wanted to do like the hunting promotion thing and just like the growth of hunting, which I only know about North Idaho. Like only. I don't leave the panhandle. So I can only speak for what I see in my home area, you know. So if other people see different stuff, you know, I know you live very rural. So if you're not seeing as many people as I am,
but it's still busy where I'm at. I mean, I hunt, and where I guide is a very busy couple of units. And this last year I hunted Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. On Idaho side, I wasn't hunting. I was taking my cousin Andrew. We went hunting together. So, because Idaho, you guys opened a week earlier for archery. So anyway, the point is we're all experiencing the pressure. I think it's a little exacerbated in North Idaho because North Idaho is very thin. It's very compact. There's the metro developed areas, and that pushes everything into these units where it gives you a little bit of limited space. And then you add all the added new residents, and then you add the non-residents that are coming in, and then you add a very robust wolf population that's wiping out the animals. It's kind of a melting pot there in North Idaho for sure.
I'm surprised it took this long for us to mention wolves, because that's I
know I usually pick on them.
Preface this whole thing with saying that if it wasn't for wolves, I think our wildlife population would be robust enough to allow for all of this.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer that that's the case. And thank goodness for Justin Webb and the organization, because we would be far worse without them. So thank you for that.
It's been awesome seeing from when F4WM first started back in, like, I don't remember, 2010, 2011, something like that. I remember I started hearing about it, but watching them evolve not only as an organization, but as wolf trappers, like the Justin and my buddy Jacob Denham, watching these guys like evolve into proficient wolf trappers, and Tyler Oaks, these guys that I kind of follow along and watch what they're doing out there. For man, North Idaho hunters really do owe them some gratitude, and I'm not naming everybody that should be named. I'm just naming the ones I personally know, and they do a great job. And so hopefully that continues, because I do think that around 2016 to 2018 ish is when I noticed the most severe wolf depredation or elk depredation from wolf kills, however you want to phrase that. It seemed to peak then, that it was a ghost town out there. And then as these trappers started getting more effective, and you had Tom Snyder up north, shooting all these wolves and whatnot, hunting them. As that started happening, I started noticing an increase in the elk population. And I don't know how to phrase that either. I don't want to say that.
I feel like I'm
only going to get in so much trouble in this episode.
No, you're good. I'll take any trouble that you get too. You can just dish it my way. But the people who have done their part, we appreciate them tremendously. Whether we name them or not, we really appreciate them. But like we said, if we didn't have wolves, I don't think we would even be having this conversation. I think we could all just hunt in peace. But with what did they say, 20 wolf or 20 elk a year per wolf, it's pretty easy to see who's doing the damage. I'm not saying, hunters should stop hunting because we're killing everything. I'm not like that. I just think we're all going to be sorry for not addressing this issue earlier. Not saying I have the answers, but at some point it's going to be a big time issue. excuse me. The other issue
Yeah.
that I see a lot in North Idaho is the use of technology a little bit too much. I don't know if it's okay to talk about that yet or not.
I'd like to welcome Mystery Ranch as a sponsor to the Western Huntsman. This is a great product. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Mysterium line. Those packs include the Sawtooth 45, the Sawtooth 65, the Beartooth 85, and the Marshall 105, depending on what you're doing with the pack. If you from day pack to backcountry, plenty of space. I like what they wrote on the website. Between the disciplines of calculated preparation and in-the-moment focus, an intangible alchemy exists. We call it Mysterium. It is our most ambitious, tech-rich line of Mystery Ranch hunting packs constructed for the most methodical hunters. I'd agree with that. It's a great pack, guys. I really like the ventilation system. When you put it on, it's nice and tight, but you're still breathing a little bit less of that buildup between the pack and your back when you're sweating and out there packing through the mountains and whatnot. It's a super functional pack, very comfortable. Very good at carrying loads. I've been using it all spring between bear and just like I do a lot of rucking to keep in shape, and it has done a phenomenal job. I've got a lot of top-of-the-line packs out there, and I've always kind of geeked out with packs, but I really do like the weight distribution and the way that it allows you multiple options as to where you're going to either carry a water bladder or one of those Contigo containers or whatever you're going to use. Really impressed. I love the ease of how everything functions on it too. You don't need to watch a bunch of videos to figure out how to undo everything to pack a bunch of meat out. That's really important for a guy like me, I promise. I'm not super smart. So the simplicity, the comfort, the load distribution, it all makes for a wonderful backcountry hunting pack. If you are in the market, check it out at mysteryranch.com/mysterium. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I do. Before we leave that, I do want to point out, because one of the things that is like this hunt quietly movement they talk about a lot is they're not big on hunter recruitment, and they don't want to bring in new hunters. And I understand that from a selfish standpoint. You want to be able to hunt without the interference of other folks out there. The one thing that is really important to keep in mind with that, and where I disagree with that theory, hunter recruitment. In the 1960s, over 7% of the American population hunted. Now that number is down to 4.5%. So the population has grown dramatically, but the percentage of hunters within that population is reduced. And the problem that we're going to run into if we have that mentality is the anti-hunting community really uses that low percentage of the population to try to discredit us, this ever-shrinking stakeholder, if you will. And they use that a lot. And I actually had some websites pulled up to kind of read what they're saying, but essentially what they're saying is, just to summarize it and make it easier, is they're like, well, the demographic of hunters, what did this one, you get a kick out of this, man.
Is this an activist saying this, or?
Yeah, it's activists. Let me see if I could find, they called it sport hunting is cruel and unnecessary. And they said, I just want to read this because it's relevant. It really is relevant. Although it was a crucial part of human survival 100,000 years ago, hunting is now nothing more than a violent form of recreation that the vast majority of hunters do not need for subsistence. Hunting has contributed to the extinction of animal species all over the world, including the Tasmanian tiger and the great auk. About 4% of the U.S. population, 14.4 million people, hunts, yet hunting is permitted. That's not relevant right there. 35% of hunters slaughter and maim millions of animals on public land every year. Did you know that, Dakota? Did you know that millions of animals are slaughtered and maimed?
I personally contributed to that Tasmanian issue.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. It's just so I guess the point is they're very hyperbolic. What was that?
Right. I agree with you 100% on the fact where these people are absolutely insane. They're the blue-haired liberals of the hunting, antis. So, and we need to fight them with our heart and soul. I guess to keep it short, I'll say, and I know that I don't even do near as much as I probably should to fight those kind of people. Um, I know that we're blessed to have some organizations out there that do, like Howl and some other
Yep.
ones. Um, but I'm with you there. If we need more hunters to do that, I'm for it. Because my
I
issue isn't more hunters; it's just that we're losing land and animals.
yeah.
That
I do agree with that. And it vexes me when like last spring I had to go down to Salt Lake. You know, I grew up in Utah.
Mhm.
I had to go down to Salt Lake for my daughter's archery tournament, which it looks like we're probably going to go again. She's costing me a fortune because she's really good and keeps qualifying for the next dang tournament. Anyway, I go down there, you know, to the Salt Lake Valley, and I was cruising around these areas where I used to pheasant hunt and deer hunt. Is now nothing but houses. It's all urbanized development. It's going up the Wasatch Front. It's going like way out to the west side of the valley where these monster mule deer. There's this mine out there called the Kennecott Mine, and it used to be a great like pastime of mine to drive. I had this old '77 Chevy pickup, you know, and
Mhm.
I'd drive it out there, and I would just watch these giant freaking 210 class mule deer bucks, and you can't hunt out there, but
Right.
they would cross over onto some of the private sector out by the dump and all this, or public. It was like BLM land. Anyway, that's all gone. It's
Mhm.
all developed.
Mhm.
That's happening in Idaho. It's happening in all the western states where we are encroaching onto like winter range,
Mhm.
pushing these animals into areas that they cannot survive in. They're not ideal for winter habitat. Luckily, like we're having a year like this year, which is ideal. A light winter for these animals. It's good for these animals. It's going to be terrible in the summer when we're if we get into like a drought status. But
Right.
and fire season, you know, and whatnot.
Right.
But that is something I wholeheartedly agree with you on. I
Yeah.
feel like we are not paying attention to the habitat capacity of the landscape for the we all talk about these complaining mule deer, but then we all go build out on the prairie somewhere and
Right.
take and Kootenai County is a great example, man. Like have
Right.
you like the Rathdrum Prairie? Remember that big herd of elk that used to live out there every winter? They're
They're not
I
very
haven't seen them in
more.
5 years, man. I haven't seen
They're
them in 5
very much.
years.
And it's a bummer because that area has a wolf pack in it. And I've watched the moose population in that area go down dramatically because of that in
Yeah.
particular. Um, a couple other things, they struggle hard with ticks and such during drought years, like you mentioned. So yeah, we're up against a lot. We're up against a lot, and I guess that's the only thing I can end with is I want everybody hunting. Everybody has the right to hunt and all that. I love it. I would want my daughter hunting. I would want my daughter's husband to hunt. I ask my clients, do you hunt? Like I want to know if everybody hunts. So, um, but I guess the only concern is how much of that are we going to be able to do in the future? So,
Yeah,
but
I
I
would say
don't see any different. I really don't. I think that I think
hey
that we.
Dan, I cut you off there, so I didn't hear what you said. Say that again.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, you're good. I said I don't think we see things really much different. Maybe we might see different how to like go about things, but that's humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think on a hunter level, on a personal level, I think we see things very similar. And like we said before, there's not a lot of answers, unfortunately.
So like what would you do? What would be in your mind a solution to like the the influx of the population and all these tags and all this habitat destruction and is there something in your mind because I mean things always pop out at me like
There
outlaw
is something in
people
my
from
mind.
moving to Idaho.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
there
But
is something in my mind that I think is going to transpire. I think what's
tell me
going to
about it.
yeah, I think what's going to transpire is if I were to have like a crystal ball and tell you what I think. Um, I think in 5 to 10 years, because I'm not leaving the Panhandle, so I'll tell you what I think it's going to be, and we can check back in and see if I'm right. I think because of the constant influx of people that's moving here, and whether our animal populations stay the same or go down or up, that's kind of irrelevant. We know we're going to lose more land. We're not getting more land, so we're going to lose more and more. I think what they're going to have to do is if we're going to have the right to hunt every year, they're going to tell you that you just get to hunt very little. You're going to get to elk hunt for 3 days. Like, some states, they have those very short windows.
Yeah.
You're going to get elk hunt for archery season is going to be a week, and it's going to be the 6th through the 12th. And then you're going to have a 2-day rifle season, and then you're going to have a second rifle season. Some people don't even know that this exists in other states. Colorado has like 4 rifle seasons or something because there's so many people, they have to break it down into little chunks for everybody to go pick what they do.
Yep.
So I think that that's what's going to have to happen. I think that I would support, like, if we're talking about whitetails, we get to rifle hunt for whitetails for October 10th, November 10th.
It's like October 10th, basically through December 1st. Yeah.
So like almost 2
for
months.
Idaho. Yeah.
Right. It's pretty big span. I think what they're going to do is they're going to change it to, like a short range, which I think they've even talked about. Just because of the way that the craze is going with long guns, you can really pick off these days. So I think what they're going to do is they're just going to try to limit the way we hunt,
Hey, on that, real quick, I want to correct what I said earlier. The guy that bought my house owns a company called Triggered Precision Machine, which is a custom rifle company. And I just wanted to I remember I said it. I was like, man, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. So I don't want to say it wrong, essentially.
No, that was good. And it kind of fit in with what we were saying there. So, because I was talking about long and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like long guns. Long guns are cool. If you use them, that's great. I just think that eventually they're going to have to dial back the technology, that we're using and the time that we're allowed to use it for.
Is that the technology that you were kind of referring to when we first started talking about? Is it the technology of the long range shooting? Like when I think of technology, I think of like the use of drones or cell cams, things like that. Like give me your take on all that.
That would be what I would consider technology. If we're going by like definition, it would be something like with screen or, if anybody knows me, they know that I absolutely hate thermal imaging. And it's like a craze around here, everybody that I know that likes hunting a lot. I hear Tom Schneider say, how many people are and I like their content. So this isn't meant to be a hateful thing. I heard him say on his podcast the other day, if we're all going to be transparent, that how many people really go out and buy thermals. I know more people on these 2 hands that walk around with thermals in the woods to hunt elk and deer. I personally know people that use thermals to hunt elk and deer on a regular basis because it's actually not illegal here in Idaho yet. So
no kidding. I thought that it was already on the books because it is in Montana. Man, you can get hammered for that one in Montana.
And no, not on the books. I was just in there last week talking to the Fish and Game officers. Still not signed by legislation and won't be. It doesn't sound like it will be in 2026. That's why. That's why cell cameras are still legal and will be this year as well. I know a lot of people are saying they're not, but I walk right in or call them. It's still legal. So
yeah, and I have mixed feelings about like I use cell cams. I don't use them during hunting season, but I use them on my property, right? I have, and the biggest reason I use them here, I've got chicken coops and whatever, and I get a lot of black bears on the property, and so I like to see what's going on
for you.
Exactly. I've never taken a cell cam onto public land and set it because where I hunt, there's not enough cell service anyway. It doesn't matter. But I do use regular cell cams out there. Do you take issue with using like a regular non-cellular camera?
I don't even take issue with a cell cam if I'm being honest with you.
I definitely take issue with the thermal imaging thing. I can't believe that's not on the books in Idaho. I gotta look that up, dude.
So to break it down for you, since you asked me, I don't have an issue with the cell cams because I don't think that they actually contribute to you harvesting the animal.
I don't think so either, really.
You have to drive out there and go do through all that. But let's say you're sitting on a brush field clear cut and it's 1,000 yards away and you're scanning with your thermal, which I've seen people do this. I've been with people who do this. So I can speak from knowledge here. It's why I hate it so much. and then it shows you in the brush that there's a heat signature, and then they break out the spotting scope and they dig and they look and they say, oh yeah, there's a deer laying right there. They would have never found it if it wasn't for the thermals. And then
see, that's
and
cheating.
then immediately they'll shoot and they kill that buck, and that's a dead buck that wouldn't have been killed without the use of a thermal, monocular. So
that's insanity. I can't believe that's not on the books as a law. That's crazy to me, because I mean, I'm super familiar with thermals from my military background. That's how we used to find the Albanians would come into Kosovo trying to smuggle coot, which is like a cocaine thing, and our job was to keep the Albanians from doing that, and
off the
find
coast,
them. No, this was in the hills of Kosovo.
Really?
Quite a ways inland, yeah. And so,
wow. Yeah, I don't know geography also, Kosovo.
Yeah, just north of like Macedonia, and Greece and all that. And so it's the Balkans region, and we were there. I mean, dude, I'm dating myself. This is
Well, thank you for your service.
Going on. Oh, thanks, man. Going on almost 25 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood, And so the thermals were a lot different back then than they are now. But that's how we would find them, man. And in fact,
have you ever looked for a modern day thermal today?
I have not. Other than my buddy has a drone that has thermal imaging, and he has a license to retrieve wounded game with it, and I like it for that. That's a good deal. Like, it's crazy, dude. Somebody will hit a buck, and like, let's say it's a week later, that body of that animal is still generating enough heat for the thermals to pick it up, even though it's been dead for 3 or 4 days. It's crazy. And at least there's some closure. Yeah.
They pick so much. So like I'm saying, a lot of the people that you hear saying, oh, they're really not that helpful, or it's total lie. It's a cheat code to something that is absolutely not hunting. I would not, if you use them, I would not even call yourself a hunter, because it's not.
No, I wouldn't either. You should be, if you've killed something via utilizing those thermals, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's not hunting.
And coyotes and predators are different. I'm willing to say that.
Yeah, if you're going after wolves with a thermal, because I know that there are circumstances where that is legal. That's different. That, in my mind, that's totally different. And for any of you anti-hunters out there that are listening to this, that want to try to get me in some kind of catch me gotcha moment, let me explain something to you, douche pickles. That is not a gotcha. This is wolf hunting is I will get us so derailed if I go down that trap. But wildlife management includes we have to kill a lot of wolves in order to keep the young of the species healthy. Not a hard concept, but it's hard to them. So yes, thermal imaging is totally approved. Sorry, man. You said you're going to ask a question?
I just wanted, because when we ask these kind of questions, it just breaks it down, and we can actually start to get culture to swing the other way. I think hunting is one big culture. Like, if this field goal was the culture, I think it's gone one way really hard to whatever YouTube makes it look like. So everybody's doing like the same thing that Muley Freak is doing, if that makes sense. But
I think it could set those big pages, and that's another issue with, like, when we're talking about like when now I'm drawing a blank, Hunt Quietly. They take a lot of issue with some of these big YouTube channels and whatnot. The problem with that is they're wildly popular. People love them.
Right. So it's hard to argue with it, right?
It's hard to argue with it. Like, you can't.
Right.
Here, I just pulled up Cam Haynes's YouTube. 1.8 million followers on Instagram, and then he's got this video on YouTube with 280,000 downloads. It's been out for not very long. Like, you can't argue with. There's an appetite for that kind of stuff, right?
Right. I agree.
I'm curious now. I'm totally curious. So Meat Eater, 1.77 million followers on YouTube. That's insane, man.
Oh, I agree. So, and I honestly think
that's an appetite.
Those obviously people like that content. I'm going back to the thermal thing, because that's what I was going to ask you. I remember I had that question. Because the wolf thing, we said we agree with that. We need to be able to offset the wolves with the thermals. But I heard a stat the other day from somebody, opposing the thermals, because it's hard to say, hey, you can only use them for wolves and not bears or deer and elk. So the only thing we could do is say you can only use it after ungulate season is closed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think that would be, I think that would be fair. Nobody's really actively out there hunting for wolves during, an elk season.
they
There's
said in the course of
trappers
wolf
that,
season, there's only been, in the whole history of our wolf season, there's only been 7 wolves ever killed with the use of thermal optics.
see, and it's a great tool. And I know Idaho has, they've been really liberal with the wolf management, and liberal in a good way. I don't mean blue-haired hippie, granola eating, whatever they are, hipster.
Right.
I'm talking about they've been liberal with opening up the wildlife management side of wolf hunting, to allow, like thermal
Very
hunting,
loose regulations.
baiting, loose regulations, baiting, thermal imaging, stuff, spotlighting, that kind of stuff, which I think is really beneficial. And I'm hoping Montana follows suit, because I got a great little, I have access to this private land over here. Man, if they would just open up
perfect.
a couple
If
things.
they were to run out on that rancher's land,
Yeah, man.
you have your thermals. See, that's the applicable way to do it. But the unfortunate part about it is everybody's buying thermals at Cabela's, and then they're going in to sit on their clear cuts, and that's how they're using them. They're not using them.
Oh, wow.
I'm
out of it, dude. I didn't even know that was a thing.
See, that's why I wanted to have this conversation about tech, is because I know so many people who are using the thermal imaging and then when they kill a 6-point, they don't say, hey, I was actually got up at midnight and I drove into that clear cut, and I walked out there and I could see him out there in the night, and then so I just waited until it got light, and then I took my shot. So there's people even out there at night using it to locate and then making their plays, if that makes sense.
I think that as hunters, we have to recognize that shines a very negative light against the anti-hunter, because not the anti-hunter. There's 3 categories. There's hunters, there's non-hunters, and there's anti-hunters. Yep. None of us that are you and I talking, or anybody listening to this episode, we don't care about the anti-hunter. They're lost. They're lost humans. They have like no soul. They have no character. They don't have any reason.
There's no facts.
They are purely emotionally based in this weird intoxicated state of mind numbness, and I don't care to cater to them in any way, shape, or form. I do, however, care about the non-hunter, the folks that are like, Aunt Betty sitting there on Facebook and seeing somebody post a picture of a dead deer because they used a thermal. That, in their mind, they don't even know the term fair chase, but in their mind, that concept is going to come up, and they're going to think to themselves, I don't mind if my, cousin Bob goes hunting, but man, that just seems unfair to the animal. And she'd be right by thinking that.
Right.
What is
where it's going to go?
I do too. I do too.
If we let that go, are we just gonna? I don't know. We could go on a rabbit hole where it would go, but I just want.
That's a precedent.
What's that?
I said it sets a precedent, and it's a dangerous precedent.
That's a great way to put it. And see, the other when I talk about the hunting media, I wouldn't have a problem with it if we were setting more of a good example. But more of what you see is they just glorify, them, either themselves or the kill shot, or man, it was so hard to endure this, you couldn't endure it even if you wanted. It's like a big old spectacle, and we've just gotten away from what hunting really means, I think. Not everybody has, just some people, I think. But like I said,
I would agree with that, man.
We're filming kill shots, and which is fine, but then we're thermaling at the same time. But then we don't say that we use the thermals. It's like it's never about the pepperoni sticks anymore.
Yeah, I would agree with that, man. I think that there is people with ill intentions from a standpoint of, the hunt is not what is important to them. The meat is not what is important to them. It's the Instagram likes or the YouTube downloads. And I do have a problem with that. And I am with a hunting media company.
Right.
I have to make content. Now, I don't really do a lot of the YouTube video stuff because I'm terrible at it, but there is that side of it where this podcast, this is hunting media, and this podcast is hunting media designed to save the future of hunting. So that's why I like to have these tougher conversations. But
see, Tim, that's why I like you, is that you like have a purpose behind your thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to even cut you off, but
no, you're
I'm gonna
good, man.
give you a fat compliment here. I think I emailed you, and when I got your attention, I really wanted to get in touch because I feel like we're so much alike. You're everyday dude. You started a podcast to kind of bring awareness to the hunting space and kind of what we're talking about, just the future of hunting. I've heard you say that a bunch.
Yeah, the future of hunting. That's it, man.
You're more of a genuine dude that I think people can relate to than any of these other YouTube guys. You're just out there having fun. Hey, if I make a video, check it out. If I don't, I didn't get to it because I was hunting.
All I do when I try to make a video, man, is I mess my hunt up.
Dude, same. That's why I just
Whatever.
like to hunt. But every now and then I'll pick the phone up. I'll say, "Oh, check this out. This is really cool, man. God bless me today." And then we move on. And I think that you're shining a good light on the hunting industry. Eastman's, we all grew up watching them. I can't say a bad thing about them. I don't know what I would say that was like, oh, Eastman's isn't doing their part. I don't know what I would say.
I appreciate all that, man. Yeah. I appreciate hearing all that. I think, I was super hesitant. I started this show, dude, simply to solve local North Idaho issues initially. And get, I was hoping that people in North Idaho would listen, and so that we can make the hunting better, improved, the habitats better, the wildlife management. Wolves were a big issue. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, this thing is just like, I can't believe the magnitude that the show has gotten to. It's like, it's crazy to me, because when I listen to my episodes, man, I irritate myself. I don't know why other people listen to it. Like I'm an irritating, I'm irritating. And I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said that.
I'll even re-listen just because I'm like, it's just the content that I like to hear. You know what I mean? It's not
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll re-listen to them just because I like them. But yeah.
What are your thoughts on people that what do you have a set of boundaries you think about when it comes to posting online? Like, are you okay with grip and grins, or I'll start, let me start, and then that way you're not shy about it. Please. Like for me, I mentioned this in one of the quick shot episodes I put out, I don't know, a week or two ago. I don't mind clean grip and grins. I don't mind people sharing their success. In fact, I think that's healthy, and I think it's good for the community. And it's just what the nature of what hunters do. We all want to share the adventure that we just lived. Where I have a problem is I hate the bloodbaths, and I hate trapping. I don't think we should ever post anything of an animal being trapped, dead or alive, because it triggers this vitriolic response out of the non-hunter. It's not the other trappers and hunters out there that we need to worry about. That we all know that kind of carnage happens. But when you post a picture of a coyote or a wolf trapped and he can't get away and he's freaking out and he's yelping and yipping, and you're walking up there acting like it's no big deal, that is very, very foreign to the non-hunter. The single old lady works at Costco that has never been exposed to that, but has a say in the voting booth. You are shining us in a very negative light. And so I never like to preach to people on that, and I never want to tell anybody what they should do or what they shouldn't do and what they can't do. But I do think that conversation needs to be had, and we should all be aware of, it's not just about us. When you're posting something like that has a very emotional impact on the non-hunter, that will be, without a doubt, that will have a negative impact on the future of hunting and trapping. What say you?
100%. I agree with you 100%. Since you already said the trapping thing, I agree with that. It's just common sense to think that what we see on a regular basis, most people don't ever see in their lifetime. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you've ever shot a buck, up close or whatever, boom, and it drops, just because it drops doesn't mean he's dead right there. He's got a little bit left in him, and there's some stuff that happens that doesn't need to be shown anywhere. Just because it happens doesn't mean it needs to be shown. Matter of fact, I think there's a lot that is shown that shouldn't be, just because people know it'll generate views. Like whatever, like big gushing blood everywhere, or
Yeah.
there's YouTube channels online that shows people shooting baboons in the chest, and they're just like, and they're just pouring blood. It's none of that helps our argument whatsoever.
It doesn't, man. It really, it's
Even
bad. And you know what's funny? I like to see, me personally, I love to see the kill shot.
I do too.
And it's not because I like seeing things die. That's
Right.
not it. It's just I like to see, okay, this hunter was in this position. He made this shot. That's where he hit that animal. I want to see how far that animal goes. My daughter, I took her buffalo hunting, bison hunting last month. I had this opportunity to go kill a bison. That's, my family, we don't buy meat from the grocery store. It's all wild game. And then I usually go kill a bison, and my daughter made this great shot. And the trick to kill a bison is to shoot him right behind the ear. Everybody wants to shoot him where we shoot elk. No, you shoot him right behind the ear, and it kills him almost instantly. And so I'm filming my daughter. She's using my Model 94 Winchester 30-30. She nails this thing right where we told her to hit this bison. This thing drops. I mean, it drops like a Democrat at a flannel shop. Hell there on the ground, kicking around, and just within 30 seconds, that bison is dead. Right. And I'd love to share that video.
The quickest way that you could have done it. There is no quicker way.
Like I'd text you the video, but I'm not about to post that video on the Instagram or something.
100%.
It's carnage.
Dude, people just need to, like you said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that you should probably think about the first person that that doesn't hunt and how they would respond to it. Is it worth the views? You don't need, like, these people don't even hardly make any money off the views. You know what I mean?
I know, seriously.
So why are we shooting ourselves in the foot like 4,000 times?
That's exactly my point. That's another thing. People think that when I do this show, I'm making like all this money doing it, man. This show gives me fulfillment from the side that I'm a very passionate hunter, and I love to talk to people like you that are very passionate hunters and get this content out there and have these harder discussions. I sure as hell can't quit my day job. It's beer money. It's beer money. And so, that's an important thing I think people need to understand when we're talking about this media side of it. And for some of I get questions sometimes on like Instagram. Hey, I'd love to be in the hunting space, the industry, or start my own podcast. And I tell them, you should. If you're passionate about it, you should do it. Do you want to do a YouTube channel? You do it. Go for it, man. But don't go into it thinking that you're going to make replace your day job, because the money's just not there. The only real way to make money full time as a hunter, especially as a young guy without any mortgages and bills and kids and whatnot, is you need to go be a hunting guide. And I highly recommend anybody that has the opportunity to go do that. You will get more experience in 1 week as a hunting guide than you will in 5 years as just being a hunter on your own. It's a great experience, and if you want to make money at it, that's what you do. This podcast, I just got my what do they call it when I'm a subcontract? The 1099 form.
Yeah.
I just got that in the mail from last year. Man, let me tell you something. I make more money on one roof, because I'm a roofing contractor, than I did all year doing this podcast. So,
way I looked at it, the way I was raised is God created everything on the earth, and I don't think that he intended hunting to be a way for a man to make money. I don't even think hunting or looking at screens like we were supposed to even do that. I think we're too far down the rabbit hole to say what we were meant to do and what we weren't meant to do. But I don't think we were meant to use animals as props to make ourselves either look good or make money. I think selling gears aside from using the animal, I think that's part of the pursuit. So I'm not saying the gears is part of that. I just think using an animal dying on a video to either make yourself look good or to sell like, hey, buy this camera because this trail cam because I just saw this buck on it and then I killed it. I just don't think those line up, you know.
Yeah, and I totally understand. I don't think that you're wrong. That doesn't mean I agree, but I don't think that you're wrong. You know what I mean? I
And
think
I don't
that
mean that you made,
I don't
I think
no. You're totally fine,
I don't
man.
mean that you're the money that you make either. Because like I said, if you make doing this, I think that's great. But then again, you don't make the kind of content that I dislike. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I my intention and my goal with this isn't to make money. It's nice that it's actually quite expensive to operate a podcast. So it's nice to get that covered. Because you're paying all these monthly fees is ridiculous. What's that?
Right. There are YouTube channels out there that mention like in their videos when you watch them, you know, if you want this for free, subscribe. And it's like, we're not asking you to produce hunting content. We like the content. I don't want to pay for it. Matter of fact, if you're threatening to make me pay, do your thing. And they say, oh, well, we had to buy all this gear to produce this. You could have done that and then just showed us hunting videos for fun. Humans have the tendency to make it all about money. Well, I put this effort in, so pay me if next thing you know, we're going to be paying just to, and I hope people start boycotting that if that's the case. I will never pay for hunting content, or that's just something that I watch to kill the time. But when they say pay, it's like, no, I'll actually not do any of that.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get to that point. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to the nature of the beast that we were talking about. It's a $40 billion industry. And so they're making these products like you mentioned the trail camera. One of the best ways to that company that went through the effort to make that good trail camera, and it's a good product, they have a right to figure out a way to best market it to their audience, right? And what they found is sometimes they're looking at, boy, this guy Brian Call or Aaron Snyder with all these followers, man, they get a lot of eyeballs on them. So let's pay them to advertise our stuff. That is the nature of the capitalistic side of it.
If they didn't kill things, though, they wouldn't get it.
You're probably right. You're probably right. But they were effective before they got to that point.
Make money off of brand deals. It's how they make their money a lot of times. Companies like Onyx will actually pay influencers to go create.
Absolutely.
So it's like so it's like a double-edged sword there. You know what I mean?
It is. But it's the thing is
they pick the best people to push a product because they kill the most animals, which is completely what I disagree with. You should go out there and sell the product based on maybe merit, like how good your product is.
But what other channel do they have available to put that product in front of that many eyeballs? You know what I mean? Like what is the other avenue they have? And so I think that the other thing I look at too is nobody's forcing the consumer to watch those YouTube videos. Nobody's putting a gun to your head to watch those videos. So if you want to watch them, there is a business side of it. And the thing that I would rather have, dude, and I've said this to somebody else on the podcast before, is I'd rather have guys like you that are legitimately and authentically passionate about being a hunter and an outdoorsman. I'd rather have you making money off of promoting products than some douchebag that just shoots things for Instagram likes. And so somebody's going to do it, right? Somebody is going to do it. I'd rather it be guys like you. And I would support that. And I think that's where I get hung up with this whole argument is it's not going anywhere.
I know that I'm not naive enough to think that it's going to. I just think that if hunting was one big company and we were all kind of doing something a little different, but it was going pretty well, that doesn't mean that we never have a meeting and go, hey, are we all aligned here? Or are we just all off doing our own thing? It's working, but we're all kind of just doing our own thing. And I think we're closer than we've ever been. Like Justin Webb has brought the Foundation for Wildlife Management together with the houndsmen's groups and the cattlemen's groups. And, so that dude is incredible, I think. Is a godsend to whatever we've got going on. Justin Webb is smart dude. He just handles a lot.
And that's what I'm saying is I like guys like Justin Webb being out there at the forefront and being exposed. It's guys like that. Media. And yes. if he could sell a piece of gear that is beneficial to support his family, to keep him from having to leave his mission in life, which is to run the Foundation for Wildlife Management, I'm all for him promoting that. You know what I mean? Because we need those voices out there.
I want people to make money however they can, and even in the hunting industry, if that's the case, I just don't want it to be at the animal's expense. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
I can articulate that.
I agree with that, and I agree that there are. I agree that there are brands out there that are using the animal at their expense to promote their brand and those products.
Would you call the animal a prop?
What's that?
In some of those cases, like, and I'm just going to use a very vague case, like Mark Drury. Do you know who that is?
Yep.
The Eastern guy or whatever. They'll shoot a buck at like night in the evenings, and they'll let it sit. Let's say it's 50, 40 degrees outside. And then the next day they'll drag it out onto their lawn in front of their lodge, and it's not nothing. And then they'll hold up a stealth camera and say, here's the buck I shot. And, because of this camera. And at that point, I would consider this dead animal to be the prop to sell the camera,
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear a bunch of argument out of me. I don't do stuff like that. So
no,
I just, and I,
obviously
it is. And I think that hunters, I think that the community as a whole is waking up to some of that negative kind of prop using, animals expense kind of thing. And it's kind of shifting a little bit. And I think it should, because, I don't know. It's hard sometimes to, we're both contractors, right? We work our ass off to try to just get one job sold. Like I go through times, man, where I'm in complete panic mode over the direction my company might be going or not going, or calls that
then you're
are not coming in,
owner,
right? Like I'll be in a complete state of panic. And then I think about there's a meme where it's like this guy getting ready for work, putting all the clown makeup on because he's like, I'm getting ready for work because there's a 10-year-old down the road that just made $10 million on his YouTube channel about, whistling or something, and so, it's just, there's so many layers to all of this. There's so many layers and so much theory and so much, it's so complicated from a standpoint of who are we to tell anybody what they can and can't do? But at the same time, there is nothing wrong with us having the conversation to say, hey, there are brands out there that are inauthentic and they're making money off that inauthenticity. And that's not right for the animal. It's not right for the future of hunting, and it's not right for the hunting space as a community if we want to sell this thing in a positive light to the general public out there.
Right. I think you said it right there. I think just because we can doesn't mean we should. And if we can, we should look at it pretty hard and see how it affects the whole scope of everybody's thing. And if it's not worth the juice, don't squeeze it.
Yep.
So
well, I like it, man. I like it. I think we should leave it on that note. And
I agree.
What if we should plan to do like a check-in like a year from now or something? And
I would love to do your podcast anytime, Jim.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I think that you've got a really good perspective. I think that you I feel like you're a lot younger than me, man. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, you are a lot younger.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
Everybody
45.
asks me, I look really young too, so I have a hard time even selling jobs, Jim. They're like, "Are you even qualified?"
No. Well, that's better than me, man. I show up and they're just like, "Man, you don't look smart enough to be a roofer," and that's just saying something right there.
That's too awesome. No,
but yeah, no, man. It's just I think that we need more guys in your age demographic that have the thought and the mental fortitude and honestly the balls. Like, you knew coming into this show that we weren't going to agree on everything, right? Most guys don't have the balls to most guys don't have the balls to do that, man.
Well, you're
And
heavily
so
sponsored, you know, and
I am a sponsored podcast.
you're heavily sponsored. So I just wanted to come in with respect to your sponsors though as well. So I wasn't going to be like,
Yeah.
I come in, and I'm not really a confrontational person. So I know we all love the same things. We just see it a little different. And yeah, I love your podcast. Would do it again in a heartbeat. What was I going to say? Oh, I love bear baiting and bear hunting.
Oh my gosh, man. I miss North Idaho for baiting bears, man.
And
It's so much fun.
Even
Maybe we should
have a good spot and stock.
We should get you on, and maybe get you and Steve together. We come on and talk about some spring bear hunting, man.
I'd love it. I need to call Steve. Text him after this because I haven't hit him up in a little while, so I just need to text him.
Yeah, hit him up, man. He's I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. And no, I'd love to do that. So I do miss bear baiting, man. And to your point with the sponsors on this show, I'm not saying I'm the only podcaster, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn when it comes to sponsorships, but I have both fired sponsors because I found their product to be something that I can't believe in, and I have denied sponsors from coming on the show and becoming what I call them a promotional partnership.
Right.
They are not paying me to kill animals in any way. They are paying me because this show, for some reason that is ridiculously out of my hands and out of my ability to fathom why people listen to it, gets a lot of downloads. It gets a lot of downloads. So they are paying to sponsor this show as a hunting podcast. They're not paying me to go out and kill something. And that's an important part of it. And it has to be a product that I truly believe in. I'm not a gear whore. I won't just come out and, anybody that wants to pay me money, I'll talk good about them. That's not how this show works. Like, I have to actually, I have literally fired sponsors on this show to the vexing of Eastman's. They were very unhappy with me about it, but it's just, I'm sorry. No, I don't like it. I won't talk about it. So anyway,
well, like I said, if you've got your values and what you believe in, and you're standing for them, and if people want to come in and add money to that so that you get, a broader scope of people, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's marketing. But like I said, the difference between you and other podcasts, or not podcasts, even videos, I would say YouTube channels, is that you produce the content that's tasteful, I would say.
Well, I appreciate that, man. So. Well, cool, man. I'm glad we had this conversation. Like I said, I was a little hesitant just because it's like, we've got to talk bad about hunting media, and here I am. I'm in hunting media, but I think it was
my definitions of hunting media were a little vague. It's not like the whole hunting media scope, like you brought up, like the whole hunting deal. It's specific YouTube channels, specific people that happen to be shaping the culture in a negative light. I think, of course, not everybody's going that direction. I just think as influencers could probably do a better job shaping culture, but that's just
absolutely. And it's up to the consumer to help direct them to shape the future of hunting in a more positive light. Like it's up to us. I'm a consumer of hunting media, and I think I know which brands you're implying, and I don't watch those brands. I don't. That's not my thing. There has to be a bigger mission, and my only mission. You can call me a Republican. Don't ever call me a Democrat. You can call me all sorts of things, but you can never say that I am working towards the detriment of anything for hunting space, because that is my number one priority in terms of what I do. I am, this whole thing. I waste a lot of time putting this podcast together strictly because I believe in the mission of advancing it, and the future of hunting depends on having conversations and being open with each other and coming together. So I think we achieved that tonight.
Well, you've wasted time well, if that's the case then, Jim.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks again. Let's seriously, I'd love to do this again.
Anytime.
I swear I'm going to sneeze.
About anything. I grew up here in the Panhandle. I feel like I'm fairly well versed in whether we're talking about the animals here in the Panhandle, or the land, or the units, or what it used to be, what it is now. I feel like I've got a pretty grip of this area, and yeah, that's why I tuned into your podcast, was because it was very local based, and that's why I found myself listening. So
sweet, man. Well, I appreciate that.
cool.
Tell everybody where they can find you, if wherever you want them to find you.
You can check me out on Facebook, I guess. I don't really have any media.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do content just because I feel so strongly about my views, and I still might. I didn't create a beautiful wall for nothing right here, just for me.
That's right.
I appreciate you giving me the chance to showcase myself for once. But yeah, I don't know. You might see me out there making content or something one day. I don't know. Until then, I'm just doing this. But I don't think I'd like to film hunts or nothing. Maybe, but I don't really think so. More just like you said, awareness. And one now that you gave me a chance, I will say one thing. One thing I've been thinking of and that I've done is I've taken my family out and we've cleaned up like areas in the Panhandle that are just trashed from public land use, like whether it's from shooting targets.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like that, like there's a place that comes to mind up Hayden Creek, this shooting range, man.
Oh
Is
man,
that one of them?
Yeah, we've cleaned that up, and we also did one out by Rather Mountain. We did one out in Spirit Lake as well. Just some areas that people just trash. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We go out there and we clean that up. We haven't done one this year, but I've been wanting to. And then if I was thinking if somebody sees, I can make content out of that. Just maybe start like a movement of people wanting to go clean up our public lands. That's like the only thing to really like add a tangible difference to like land on site. You could see the difference there if everybody just did their part. So
exactly. That's what you call grassroots activism too. That it takes people that are, sorry folks, for anybody like watching the video part, sometimes my internet lags behind, so I shut the video off for a minute, and that just allows it to kind of catch up. So that's what we're doing here. But anyway, that's tangible stuff, man. That's stuff that actually moves the needle, because that shooting range that I was talking about, people trash that. They should be ashamed of themselves. They go out there and trash that, leave the shit everywhere. It's ridiculous. And I get so fired up about it. Like,
I get fired up too. It's just like the one out by Rathdrum here that we'd cleaned up before. People, they throw like printers out there and shoot them, and that's just like crackhead behavior. I don't know why you would do that, but they've permanently closed sections of that mountain down just because people can't even behave themselves, so.
Well, that's exactly what happens. That's how everybody else suffers, is they're going to shut that whole thing down. Nobody's going to be able to go out there and shoot. So your ability to go on public land and sight in your rifle is going to be gone in that area, because people take their freaking printers out there and
blows my mind.
It's ludicrous, man. It's absolute lunacy. I can't even begin to, like, that is one thing that changed 20 years ago on that Hayden Creek one I was talking about. You would have never seen all that trash out there like that.
I know.
That just,
people picked up.
My grandpa would have kicked.
Yeah.
If I did that.
Yeah. And I'm to the point where if I drive by and I see people doing that, I'll hop out of my truck and be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I'll try to educate and be like, dude, go pick up a paper target and remove it. Like, what does the printer do? You just blow it into pieces and then you leave.
Oh man, that's the Forest Service is going to come in and shut those areas down because of that.
Bro, and before they do,
it's not good for the animals. It's not good for the environment.
No, and before they do, I encourage everybody to, if you see it, I hope you have it in your heart to just pull over and throw it in your truck bed, because I think if we all keep ignoring that kind of stuff, we're going to start losing land way hard.
Yeah,
way hard.
Big time. Yeah, access points is going to be reduced for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, brother.
Anyway, yeah, I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate it too. Thanks a bunch for coming on. Again, guys listening, that his name is Dakota Johnson, and right now he's just on Facebook. You don't have an Instagram?
I do, but like I said, it was going to be, let me look at it here. I think I changed it. Yeah, right now it says True West Collective, but it also says my name. So you can follow some of my stuff there, but it's just small clips of, it's not like content. It's just stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But maybe one day I'll do something. Keep an eye out.
Sounds good, man. Well, I appreciate it. That was a good conversation. Hopefully we moved the
Cool.
needle a little bit, and we'll definitely plan to do this again, man.
Cool, Jim. Talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in this week. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thanks again to Mystery Ranch, Leupold Optics, Phelps Game Calls, Browning, and Easton Archery. Talk to you guys next week. God bless. You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you